What up, folks? Jiu-jitsu here. We had the man with the plan from all the land, Chris. Very talented jiu-jitsu practitioner, competitor. I know he's teaching and doing a lot of fun things, and he's a pleasure to work with.
Thank you, bro.
For finally doing this.
Anytime, my man.
All right. So I know we were going to put you in as the first one for the year. Technically, we didn't.
It's all good.
But maybe we'll release yours before we release.
We'll see what happens.
The other.
See what happens.
All right. So long time coming. Let's get started. Question I like to ask everybody: what brought you to martial arts, jiu-jitsu, etc.? And yeah, just tell us a little bit.
So, jiu-jitsu I've been doing for almost 10 years. Martial arts in total I've been doing 20 plus because I started doing Tang Sudo or Tung Sudo at the age of like 6.
Okay.
But then some stuff was going on in that time when I was a kid. Like the new guy that took over, you know, he kind of was doing certain things that weren't all that great. And then I moved over to a place called Minger and Lee's Taekwondo. Okay. Shout out to my one coach, Andy.
Hey,
here.
Coach Andy.
And, you know, that had a really inspiring impact on me throughout my martial arts. Like I went as far as to use my study abroad session to go train and do some competition in Korea at the time.
That cool.
That was it was an experience.
Okay.
And I got to win a match there, so that kind of felt
nice.
It felt awesome.
Yeah, there you
go. During that time, before I even went to Korea, I got introduced by a former friend of mine to Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. And I'll say the fact that I stayed in it is a miracle in and of itself because the art in itself is beautiful, but sometimes you'll have people in the sport who, let's just say, aren't the best teachers and sometimes aren't the best of people.
Okay.
Which, again, I'm not going to mention any names here.
No, I get it. They exist everywhere.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I could talk about Aikido all day.
Oh, yeah, no. But it's funny because, like, I was talking to Will about that, and you were talking about I've had conversations even with my Taekwondo coach about, like, the difference between a Jitsu and a Do martial art type of deal, but we could say that for another...
No, let's come back to Jitsu and Do. That's
we can do that. Yeah, so... ended up just falling in love with the sport, and then I found some teachers who were good, you know, went into blue belt, went around to a different couple gyms trying to find something good, and then I landed on movement art, Danny Meyer and Nick Salas. Shout out to those guys. Best coaches in the East Coast, definitely within the United States, and here we are.
Okay, that's awesome. There's a lot to expand on there.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you this, and then we'll kind of pick that apart. I like to ask the competition question. Now, you've cornered me, so you've seen how weird my jiu-jitsu is. Thank you. For you, especially now at brown belt, and you're flying through the ranks and excelling really well, like, do you think competition is essential? I think there's benefits. I think everybody should do it once. But, like, what's your take on that? Like, should everybody experience it once? Because everyone doesn't have the same goals when they come to jiu-jitsu to be like, you know, a world-class competitor, you know, or something like that, right?
So I'll say this. If you're learning jiu-jitsu in order to learn how to defend yourself, to learn a life skill of self-defense in case you end up in a bad situation, I don't think it's all that necessary.
Right.
If you're not someone who is competitive, but you're trying to stay fit, you know, you don't really need to compete. But if you're someone like me who tried to explore sports and was never good at, you know, football, soccer, I have a big soccer family, I was never really good at soccer, and you wanted like that feel of actually doing well in something, I think competition is definitely a good way to explore that.
Right.
Because think about it this way. If you're like me, like I grew up with Asperger's, right? Hand-eye coordination was not all the best. And I know like the whole jiu-jitsu autism thing is like a joke, living embodiment of that to a degree, I guess. But the reason I started doing those competitions was to actually feel like I could be good at something. And I remember when I did my first competition, Battle at the Beach, around 2017-ish.
Nice. I
won my first match, and you would have thought I won gold. I lost like the third match I did. That guy ended up winning gold, but I was just so happy that I won like 2 matches.
Right.
Because like from a long time of doing Taekwondo and all that other stuff, like I stunk at it. Like I was horrible at that stuff. But then I found jiu-jitsu, applied myself to it, and I was actually able to win something. And to me, that was like, you would have thought I won worlds at IBJJF. That's how happy I was.
I mean, that's essentially what it is at the beginning, right? I remember my first competition. at a few months in, I did Naga, and I won gold, both gi and no gi.
Yeah.
It's the same guy, which was really weird and fun at the same time.
Oh, definitely.
You know, you've probably got
I've seen them before. Like I started competing. I'm now 30, so I'm going to be master. So I'm probably going to deal more with that as time goes on. But you know, I was at white belt when I was like 20 something. There was like 15 people in the bracket, 8 people in the bracket.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a challenge, definitely. But if you put the work in and you really actually try to explore the science of jiu-jitsu, you can actually accomplish more than you realize. Does that mean you're going to be, you know, the next, you know,
there's a lot of names. Yeah, there's a lot of names.
Andy, you're going to be like the next Andy Warzinski or the next Mikey Musumeci. You know, maybe not.
John Danaher going to call you because he saw your matches.
Exactly, right? But, you know, that's like, it's a wonderful thing if you're able to at least get to that point and actually win and realize, hey, maybe I don't suck at a said sport.
Right. No, I appreciate that. Because, I mean, you've said this. We've talked about this. Like, there is something to having your hand raised.
Oh, absolutely.
And now I came to jiu-jitsu specifically for competition because in Aikido world, and I talked to you about some of that, like, it's all drills and then people have their ways of trying to make it a competition, but, like, that's not the practice. So if you're competing in drills, but there's no sparring after, you're missing the point, right? Like, you never actually know what you're capable of. So it's just like pay to play and politics and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get politics in any sport.
Exactly. But like the sport aspect, I think, made it a little more clear and I could see the return on the investment. Because like, oh yeah, I go, I train, I do a competition, I win, I lose, whatever. I have that game plan on what to work on instead of just a curriculum or the ocean of techniques, which I want to talk to you about next. Because coming to jiu-jitsu, how did you conquer the ocean of techniques? Did competition help with that? Because I recall seeing 100 million techniques a week, not remembering any of them, and trying to figure out how to do the most basic of things. And notes helped, but time helped.
All right, so you ready for the short answer to that?
Yes.
No. No, what really helps in actually learning something is having good instruction. Like competition, it'll teach you the hard lessons of what not to do.
Yes.
But it doesn't teach you exactly what you should do, right? Because what you should do, that's where you come into class, you sit down, you watch someone do a technique and explain it. And that's how you start to understand it, right? Now, obviously, when I came to movement art, it was a lot more of a scientific endeavor because the way that they explain things is a lot more conceptually. And as you train more jiu-jitsu, if you're able to break down jiu-jitsu into concepts instead of moves, that's the first like part of actually getting better at something.
Right.
Like realizing, okay, well, why does collar sleeve work? Why does Delahiva work? Oh, it's because both of those guards are in between my legs. All right, well, what other guards are in between the legs in that degree? Spider collar, spider lasso. If you're able to get into a good, you know, modified X guard, that type of stuff will help you a lot more than just being, oh, I'm just going to do underhook half guard all day because I see, you know, Tom the Blast working for that, which, hey, shout out to Tom the Blast. You know, I love listening to some of this stuff. But again, is what you're learning the most optimal thing that you're learning, and are you able to organize based off the concepts that you learn? That's something that's very valuable that we learn at Movement Art especially. And if you're able to organize your jiu-jitsu in that way, you're going to find a lot more success in the training room and in competition if you so wish than you would if you're just learning. One day you learn X guard, the next day you learn an arm bar, the next day you learn close guard into whoop-de-doo guard, into the ultimate great submission, whatever it is. You know?
That's where I think people get lost in. And now they're very consistent here. Like there's a curriculum, the coaches are, I don't know how they do it. I assume they have an instructor's meeting, like the coaches are generally on the same page. So there's like a theme and concepts that blend together. So like Monday through the weekend, you should have concepts that are tied together.
Yeah, it's not
like, oh, foot thing, this guy's doing only collar chokes. We don't have that. So that was helpful coming here.
They stemmed away from the old school way of like, you learn choke here, you're going to look foot lock here, you know, that type of thing.
Steve jokes with me about that type of thing all the time, which is great.
Yeah, that's like 1990s style jiu-jitsu right there.
Before my time, believe it or not. I want to ask you this that ties into the concepts, because I like the way you broke that down. How much does someone's ability, in your opinion, determines what's best for them? Because that's a challenge, right? Because people have things they like, and then there's things they most likely should be doing because they might fit their frame, their mobility, their body better. What's your take on that?
I actually think if you learn things conceptually, it'll help you discover that even better. Okay. So I'll give you a story. Last year, I had a really bad pinch in my neck, and I couldn't bolo. I could barely move, actually, for a good while, like out of the bed and stuff. I could barely train. And in order to come back, I was learning more things, like how to come up from, single leg de la Hiva, how to use spider guard. That was a big one. Shout out to Sebastian Serpa. Hey. Did a lot of his seminars and that stuff. So if you're able to conceptualize what works in the most basic of basic concepts, well, you can now explore other sorts of guards that might actually benefit you a lot better. Like the reason I play a lot of upper body guards personally is because of what happened to me back like January of last year. So now, will it make you more reliant, and is that not a good thing? That's also something to consider, because if you're heavily reliant on something, well, okay, you might be the guy that practices the one kick 1,000 times and no one can stop it. But what happens in the case where it does get stopped?
Right, outside of that element, you're comfortable.
Exactly, outside the element. Right? So what happens when that happens? Well, now you got to go back and explore certain other things. And that's something I'm currently doing at the moment. So it is important, but you have to also remember you can't just be a one-trick pony.
True. No, I see that. I'll go back to the competition thing for me. That's where I hit the brick wall, where like training with your buddies all the time. And I talked to Eric Naples about this on the podcast, where like you don't have people you can drill with that are taking it the same way you are, like that are thinking like, okay, how is this response going to go? What can I actually do here? Instead of like, my goal's different from yours and we're just kind of playing around. Yeah. Like there's challenges there too that I ran into, and that's where gym hopping and all that, just getting different perspectives.
Oh, absolutely.
That helped me. Yeah, I know you guys are like the gold standard of that thing. And I was told early on, Ernest, shout out to Ernest, he was like, yeah, you got to bounce around, man. Which is kind of how I landed here, and I go to North Star and stuff. Yeah. You guys a bit.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how like way back in the day, and even some gyms to this day really don't like people cross-training?
I started in 2019. So like the places I went to, I think they were all like children of dentists.
Yeah.
I think they all were.
Yeah.
So like everybody was like, oh, go train with everybody kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe I missed the memo, and because you know what I mean? I was in that kind of.
Yeah, no, like I've been into gyms where like cross training is kind of frowned upon to a degree sometimes. And listen, you can learn something from everybody. Yeah. And even if someone says you can go and cross train, right? Like you can do all that type of stuff, but you can tell. You can feel the vibe of like, I don't feel comfortable you doing that type of deal. I don't think that's good. Obviously, if you cross-train, you're going to get different looks. Like, let's say you're really good at, at passing, right? Let's say you're really good at passing, knee shield, all that type of stuff. Well, what happens when you encounter someone who knows a lot more about knee shield than you do? Well, now you have this conundrum, and then you can go back to your instructors to problem solve it. But again, it's so necessary to cross train because you're not going to get other reactions that you would at your gym.
That exposure is limited. Even if we have a pretty big gym, which is nice, but it's not the same. Because I feel, and I'll say this, and this, like if someone just trained wherever, didn't compete, and then you guys show up, there's a whole world out there of jiu-jitsu where you're like, do I deserve this belt?
Oh,
when a lot of it has to do, well, you transition, you talk about it, but there's a lot that has to do with exposure, and then that's where I think some of the like doubt comes in and all that stuff. But it's really like there's going to be people. I came to jiu-jitsu older, so I know this. There's always someone bigger, stronger, faster. I assume anybody I'm competing against is better than me, and I do not expect to win. I want to. We've had that conversation while I was there, but like I'm going to do my best, and then I'll have things to work on, but I'm happy I went through that weird, chaotic experience for some strange reason, right?
Yeah, what's actually funny that helps with that, personally for me, and I started doing this recently? Someone from like Natasha Bedingfield. Put on some of like, that.
Pocket full of
Yeah,
sunshine.
put on some Cascade like every time we touch. You know what I mean? Like put on some of that stuff. Like that happy music really gets you in a better mindset to where it's like you're not even focused on winning. You're just happy. Will Weiser was really good. Will Weiser, who's been on the podcast too.
Yeah, he's
he
great.
actually did some hypnosis therapy, some hypnosis stuff on me.
He mentioned that he did it, but he didn't go deep into it.
I was the first one he did it on.
Our podcast was only 10 minutes because it was just like, yo, dude, let's talk about your book for real quick. And he was like, let's do it again. So we get
he
when the
did
book
it on
comes
me.
out, I think in June, we'll put the link up.
Hell yeah.
Technical Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, he did it on me, and it really it definitely opened my eyes because I had some past trauma when it came to like bullying and stuff like that. And I left a lot of that stuff because a lot of it did come from me trying sports and me just like crashing and burning. And I gotta say, it really did help. So shout out to Will for that.
No, shout out. No, you'll hear that in I'll say this about combat sports and MMA and UFC things. You'll hear a lot of athletes have some kind of focus like that.
Yeah.
They don't always talk about it, but like even Joe Rogan talks about that. How some athletes have they have a sports psychologist or something, or a motivational somebody, or even the hypnosis part. Like that's a common theme. It's nice to hear that work.
Yeah. Yeah. Get some Will Weiser and some David Goggins. You'll be good to go.
That would be hilarious to have those two. I would love to see that.
Oh, yeah.
David Goggins, if you ever watch the podcast, I got to connect you
with
have
Will Weiser, with his good monotone, and then you just hear David Goggins, you don't know me, son.
It's like, you don't know this.
He's in collar sleeve, hitting something. You don't know me, son. The entire
You've been naked and afraid. Speaking of naked and afraid, what was your let's go back in time. Your first jiu-jitsu class, or your early phase of jiu-jitsu, what was that like? For me, I knew I was going to get smashed by bigger people and feel very helpless. And I knew I was taking off my Aikido black belts to come and learn something and be very bad at it for a long time, if not ever getting good at it. How was that for you? Like, what was your experience early on?
I was more excited to learn because when I got myself absolutely demolished, I was wondering, well, how can I prevent this from happening? And I annoyed a lot of people asking a lot of questions, but that was just me genuinely trying to actually learn. And I won't lie, I guess that didn't rub off on people the right way. But, when it comes into when you go into a gym, because I stepped into a gym where it was a lot more kill or be killed.
Got you.
It was a lot more of that type of environment. Yeah. And, it would be, I'll give you a description. It was one of those type of places where it could be 95 degrees out and you would have to step out of the gym to actually get some cool air. If that makes any sense.
No, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I've done some.
Yeah, it was one of the
field trips.
Yeah, it was one of those places. So for me, I was just there just for the sake of the love of learning something new. Like I was focused on obviously not trying to get my butt kicked, even though I was on on week 2, but at the same time, it's like I really just wanted to actually learn. And if that meant I had to get my face smashed into the mat, well, I mean, so be it.
Right.
I might be annoying asking questions, but at least I'm actually trying to learn something. So I was more focused on that part, if anything.
No, that's cool. I want to kind of tie to that, go back to kind of walking through your training. At what point in your training did you decide you had to go deeper and study, right? Because I feel like, I've talked to Will, I've talked to Dylan about this. And you and I have talked about this off camera, but I just want to go back to that because I know you moved to movement art at some point. But was that the point in your training? I think was that around purple belt or blue belt when you moved?
It was blue belt.
Okay. Was that when you were like, I got to go deeper? I know there's more out here, and I need to start thinking of my jiu-jitsu differently. Was that part of it, or there's probably a lot there?
So I'm going to answer your question by answering a sort of different question.
Okay.
About this. So for a while, I kind of stepped away from jiu-jitsu because I got bored. I just started lifting a lot.
Okay.
And I was getting really into physical fitness again, going to the gym, lifting the iron, pumping that weight, hitting those new PRs. But what it really ended up being was, what am I going to do with this? Okay, yeah, you were able to...
You're yoked now, but how do you use it?
Exactly. You're yoked now, you're doing all this physical stuff, but it's not even how do you use it, is what is the benefit of doing this in general, aside from just keeping your body healthy.
And looking good on the beach.
Yeah, and looking good on the beach, looking good at the club or whatever it is, right? So at that time, I'm just like, well, I want to get back into that learning. And I remember I was training under someone at the time, and he said to me, you have to step out of just doing lasso, guard, and all this type of stuff. Well, I wanted to learn De La Riva. It just so happens this place called Moving Art Jiu-Jitsu is really good at teaching De La Riva.
Yeah, the school of the...
And I cross-trained there a few times. You know, shout out to Danny Myra. He definitely had me learn the hard way. And I actually, I say that jokingly, but in a way, I really do have to thank him for that, because honestly, if it wasn't for me running into a wall 99 times and then the 100th that actually clicked, I wouldn't be where I am today. But it really was like wanting to actually learn, actually trying to find something useful to put myself to. And then I just took his advice. I went to Movement Art Jiu-Jitsu because that's where I felt like I could actually branch out. And one way or another, I branched out.
Okay. No, that's great. No, that is you answered a couple questions there. That's why it's like you guys come on. Man. I like that. Yeah, there's a lot to that, and I think that's cool. I think I've talked to a lot of friends, probably folks you know and folks that maybe you've met in passing here.
Yes.
Probably in the same tier or been training just as long as me, and they have the same question. Because everybody has unique goals, right? Like, you know the story. Like, it's fitness, it's, you know, just an activity, maybe it's self-defense or whatever. And like, everyone I come in contact with has that same question. They ask someone like yourself or someone skilled like a Dylan or a Will or a Valor for that point, like, because your focus in training is different and your approach. And it maybe shout out to like Movement Art.
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Movement Art.
But it's probably
here a lot.
Right? Yeah. It's probably that, but like there's that approach, and it's just like, well, how do I not necessarily get there, but what do I have to do in my training? And like, what has to change mentally for someone? Because I feel like I have to really want it if I want my jiu-jitsu to change. Because I can come here and be comfortable, which is fine. I can treat it like a hobby, because essentially it is. Like, I'm not, you know, world-class pro getting paid to do this.
Exactly.
But also I can still have goals that I'm, you know, aspiring to reach. So things like that. So like the question's always asked, like, what has to change, and like, how do you get to that point? I think it's individual, right? Like, you have to want to...
Yeah, one thing I've learned is no matter if you agree with someone on something, there always are going to be points where you're going to disagree, because every single person is going to be different, right?
Right.
So for me, it was, I wanted to actually start feeling good at competition again. And I wanted to be in a gym where, you know, I wanted to feel like I had coaches that were teaching me, and I wanted to feel like I was a part of a team that was a winning team. Excuse me, that was teaching really good jiu-jitsu. I mean, Movement Art was the obvious choice for that.
Yeah,
right.
They compete really regularly. I've seen they're out.
Oh yeah, like Nick and Danny compete at the highest level. Like, they're absolute beasts on the mat, man. Like Mikey Musumeci was really good in promoting those two to black belt.
That's so cool.
That was honestly, like, you couldn't ask for a better head coach for them.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so. You know, you have to have that willingness, obviously, to want. But the biggest thing is you have to realize two things. The first thing you have to realize is that the body mechanics for certain conceptual things that may not be so adequate, you can use similar ones to make them more adequate. So everyone gets afraid of wanting to throw everything away and all that type of stuff. Well, is it that you're throwing it away, or are you using the mechanics of what you've already learned to do something a lot more efficient? Like for me, I used to love playing deep lasso, right? Well, obviously, it's an easy way to get past. If you just throw in a deep lasso and next thing you know, you're trying to bounce them on your shin to just dip them over, unless they're really bad at it.
Common.
Yeah, it's a common suite. But if someone knows how to deal with that already, like Danny and Nick do, it's like, yeah, that's just fake jiu-jitsu. They'll like literally be like, yeah, it doesn't exist. It's whatever, right? But knowing the mechanic of putting in the lasso, you can easily learn how to do a single sleeve shallow lasso, that being the frame version of the lasso.
Right.
From there, you can build upon making a collar sleeve. Collar sleeve was really the first guard at Movement Art I actually started to understand. It's funny. I went to learn De La Riva. I come out with collar sleeve. You know? Now, they're obviously interchangeable because you know, you can use De La Riva as like a collar sleeve for the lower body, but the real like guard that I got good at and actually helped me win my blue belt competition, I had like 15 people and I actually versed a really good friend of mine in that final. Was it the final I wanted to win like that? No, because it was won by decision. But what took me to that final was collar sleeve.
Okay.
Collar sleeve and to a degree, doing bolos and all that type of stuff too.
Yeah, good bolo, especially that early on, you will blow someone's mind.
Well, here's the funny thing. So, and this is something that I think people don't understand about the bolo. And I actually learned this from a Mikey DVD. I never used the bolo to take the back. I used the bolo to roll through and get to an over-under pass to get to side control.
You usually end up hitting me with like some combination of bow and arrow or broken bow and arrow when you submit your will or apply your will.
Well, when I take the back, I usually don't use a bolo all that much.
Right.
I usually get to mount, I force you into a gift wrap, and that's how I take your back.
That feels right.
But whenever I do a bolo, whenever I like put you in the bolo position, if I invert, I always roll out of it to get to the over-under position. Because you mentioned earlier, you asked a question of what fits your ideal mode of some people, it works for one thing, but not for the other.
Exactly.
For me, like, I know how to do a bolo. I've drilled how to do bolos. But for me, I just don't like doing them. It's just not what I like to do. But I see the value in learning it because I'm able to use that particular position to roll through it and get to an over-under pass to get to the position of side control, which I rather prefer.
Which comes back to the point of you implementing those pieces, even if they're not necessarily something you...
Exactly.
Okay.
You can take a position, you can take a move and expand it a lot farther than what you think, especially when you think conceptually.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of us, I don't know, I think I'm starting to pay more attention to that. Obviously, I have a long way to go, but like, even my jiu-jitsu, you might have gone through this, like, purple belt, you're just like a speed, you gotta be strong, you gotta tear everybody up, and you gotta win.
That was blue belt for me.
Really?
That was blue belt. Purple belt, that was like the reality check of like, oh, technique actually really matters. And even like when I was like quasi younger, even when I was doing non-conceptually good stuff, people still said I was technical. Like, and that was before I even met Danny and Nick. And that's actually a really fun story how I met Danny too. Because
let's do that.
So the way I met Danny, I had a really good friend of mine, Mikey Bonacorsi. He's actually been on Fury a few times.
Oh, cool.
And I was trying to find some training and stuff like that, and he introduced me to the gym that he was training at the time. And then the one guy, he was offering privates, and he goes, "Well, I'm not a specialist in the gi, but I know someone who is." That person happened to be Danny.
Whoa.
And I did my first thing with Danny, and I still didn't fully understand what was being said to me because I wanted to learn more deep lasso. But he showed me something completely different because it wasn't conceptually correct. And at the time, I'm like, but jiu-jitsu is full of guards, man. It's an art, you know? Like, having like it's art. It's like that whole like idea of, it's... I'll put it into the way I thought about jiu-jitsu for a long time.
Okay.
In a story like this. I read a book. I won't say the name of the book, but it was a pretty popular book. And the guy, he was a real estate agent.
Okay.
And he had a friend who was an artist, like a modern artist. The modern artist looks at this real estate agent and goes, "You want to see me make $250,000 in a day in like 10 minutes?" And he goes, "Sure." Takes out a canvas, just splashes a bunch of different paint colors on it. 10 minutes later, "All right, I'm done. Let's go to lunch." And that's kind of how I thought about jiu-jitsu. Like, oh, all these guards, like it's so like, you know, it's all part of jiu-jitsu. And Danny showed me that, you know, the first time that wasn't the case. And I had a short circuit, and for a while I still was with the blue pill, but man, when he would train with me and I would do all that type of stuff, he really hammered in that red pill hard.
Oh, my visit's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna learn the hard way so quickly.
But the thing is, like, obviously, like, I love him to death, but it really goes to show that there is a structure. There is a science. There is that to what jiu-jitsu is.
Right.
And a lot of people, even today, they'll view it as like, oh, it's like a modern art, or almost all of this can be considered jiu-jitsu. But just because it could all be considered jiu-jitsu, it doesn't make it good. Like if you were to see that same paint blotch and put a picture of the Mona Lisa together, which one are you going to think? Which one are you going to think looks a lot more beautiful?
And this is where we can go, and I'm not an art specialist, but where there's like abstract art, and then there's like the modern, and then there's just like I don't even know if there's a category for like the wild stuff, but I do think
that's just we call it modern art.
I think people. This goes back to something for everyone. I think people sometimes come to it for like the far out art thing. Which is fine. I get it.
Absolutely.
Like they explore, they go, they're just doing their thing. It keeps them like peaceful and calm and whatever. They're probably really good anyway. But like the conceptual part, I don't know if those people get it the same way. Like I think some of the artsy people do have the concepts. They just explain it to you in a strange way.
Yeah.
But I feel like some of them, they have to know. Because there's some really good, I don't want to name affiliations, but we know there's some dudes out there that are like far out. And they're pretty good. But they're more artsy.
Yeah, you got your Eddie Bravo's out there.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you got some people. But it's funny too because like if you look at the mindset of people in jiu-jitsu, it's how do I put this? I almost want to say a lot of it just seems like a lot of tortured artists at times. Because they're very, a lot of them can be very heterodox in their own way. And I feel that, jiu-jitsu, we always talk about not having an ego, right?
And the ego-driven sport. We talked about
exactly. That. But you can also see that in art too, where you have people who, sure, they're a lot more open, but they love their art so much that they have like an ego behind it, and they're not willing to either explore or maybe even acknowledge like the greats like Leonardo da Vinci at times. Because as I said beforehand, you take like an impressionist art piece where it's just a bunch of lines and things on a canvas, and you compare that to like The Last Supper, or you compare that to the painting by Michelangelo, the Duomo, and the up on the ceiling, right? Like objectively, you would look at that and be like, that's a lot more structurally sound than whatever this is.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah. And again, I think there's something for everyone.
Again, there is something there is something for everyone. Like if you're just doing jiu-jitsu as like a hobby, that's one thing. And you should pursue that and find the right gym for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're going into jiu-jitsu to actually find something to actually learn, well, you're going to get it in those more competitive schools because they're going to teach you something a lot more structured.
And I wonder if that has to do, tell me if you agree with this. I wonder if that has to do because you're applying the concepts. You're studying the concepts, but you're constantly in, I don't want to say, maybe we can call it a think tank. You're constantly in that process of like working, not working, building your game, working, not working, right?
Well, you have to.
That's what I mean. Like that environment forces you to do that.
You don't exactly have a choice. You know what I mean? Like you have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't have to have a choice, but it would be very lonely on the mat, like very lonely.
Yeah. Right? Oh, absolutely. And I know, and I do want to preface this, like, I know I was talking about how Danny used to beat me up and all that type of stuff, but I will say, I really do want to emphasize this. Like, obviously, Nick has taught me a lot of great stuff. Like, a lot of my passing has come from Nick. But, man, Danny has taught me a lot of stuff that I use to this day. Like, my back retention, that's Danny.
That's terrifying. But
that is the double collars I do on the back. That's all from Danny.
Yeah, the first time you did that, I went in the short circuit. I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a Danny Myra special right there.
The only guy who's ever done that here is Andre. You know, Big Andre. Well, he's not big to you, but he's big to me. Slavic guy.
Yeah.
Black belt. Yeah, he's really good. He's the only person who's done that to me here, and I'm like, I guess so.
And honestly, like they will show you the honest to God way. I sound like an evangelical preacher saying it like this, but seriously, like they really did have probably the biggest impact on my jiu-jitsu.
That's cool.
I'm glad that a lot of my other friends are starting to come to that point and actually are now training with me at Movement Art too.
Nice.
So, which is awesome.
I have this joke. It's kind of a bad one, but a good one. Will laughs at this. I'm like, Movement Art is kind of like, you can't beat them, join them. It's like, you're not the Decepticons, but like, I mean, I
wouldn't say we're the Decepticons, but
like, it's there's a reason, and there's a focus. And I think for some people who come in contact with you on the mats, they're just like, wow, there's such a difference, and I don't know why. I'm like, there's a reason why. Like the focus there in your training is different.
Oh, absolutely. And I said this to Nick and Danny And I also say it about another gym too, where Danny and Nick are friends with the other guy. Like what Danny and Nick have done, they really took like some of the best people and the people most willing to learn from like the South Jersey, Philly area. And people will drive like an hour and a half to come train with them.
I noticed that.
And that really speaks to a testament of what they have done and created something absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that's got to be a phenomenal environment to get people to come from all over.
And I'm just happy that, going back to the earlier thing, the Jitsu and Do thing, I'm really happy, even if they don't acknowledge it, they're really good at showing what it means to actually be a martial artist. And when it comes to that whole Do and Jitsu aspect, I often think a lot of Jitsu is a craft. You just show it to like learn. Do is like a way of life.
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life type of deal.
Yep.
And that's not really talked about much at all. And people talk about it in Jiu-Jitsu, but we all know a lot of it is...
I feel I'm still new to Jiu-Jitsu in that fact, because coming from Aikido, obviously night and day, like a traditional martial art, Jiu-Jitsu battles with being traditional martial art, but it's totally not.
Absolutely, yeah.
Every aspect of it, but it has the philosophy. But I do think in more ways than some other activities, I think Jiu-Jitsu applies that. Like you can actually walk the path or the way.
There's a way
you can do that. I think it's maybe it's not all clear to everyone, or maybe they don't want to do it, but you can actually do that. And in some other, arts, like more traditional martial arts, it's kind of fuzzy how to get there.
Right. Yeah. Well, one of the things I always appreciate about martial arts in total, especially the Do martial arts, and this is why I say like Danny and Nick are actually a good example of applying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like a Do, is that they've really built an environment where you not only can you ask questions, but people are willing to show you things.
That's cool.
And when I first started Jiu-Jitsu back in 2016, it wasn't like that at all. It wasn't really like that.
That was before my time. Yeah, I started in 2019.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. It was like, oh, like you're a white belt. People don't. You're just
what, cannon fodder.
Yeah, you're just
competition blue belts.
Yeah, even blue belts were to a degree were just kind of seen as cannon fodder to a degree, and that's a horrible way to view your students. If that's the way you view your students, that's not a good gym.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an old mentality.
That is a very old mentality, and I'm so glad that some of the newer people who are opening up gyms, Danny and Nick, AJ and Kat, complete opposite of that. Yeah. And I'm so glad that even in, not to get too much into it, but in a time where a lot of scumbags are coming to light, like
we're seeing a pattern.
And not to go too into that, but I'm just happy to see, and I want to acknowledge that even in a dark time of Jiu-Jitsu, there are still glimmers of light. Like how when you see in the nighttime, you'll see some bright stars in the sky. I'm happy people like that like those guys exist.
Yeah, no.
That really needs to be shown as an example of what it means to be not just a competitor, not just a Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but a martial artist at the end of the day.
Like a leader, like a responsible pupil. Because this goes back to the funny part of traditional martial arts where I don't think people understand how much being in a teaching role, and you could do this anywhere, a role of power or leadership, how much influence you have on people.
Yes.
And I think for some, maybe they get it and they enjoy the power of it, and then some people may not understand how much they influence people. I'm sure it's a combination. It has to be.
Whenever you have a higher belt, you're going to have a level of influence. Yeah. And listen, we got some funny guys out there. There are a lot of funny people out there. Trust me. Listen. Everyone loves Craig Jones. Everyone loves those type of people. But the thing is are they people that you're going to look up to in the long run?
No, no.
But are you going to look up to people like Mikey Musumeci?
Yeah, you can.
You can.
But you can watch his videos in front of your parents.
Exactly.
And your kids.
Right. But that's I feel like that's the obvious, thing you can do.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of great people. For every bad person in martial arts, you're going to find some good people.
You see.
And I really hope that whatever is going on now, people start to understand that.
I hope so too. We got a couple minutes left. I want to ask you this question because you kind of covered some of the stuff, but let's just specifically tackle it. What advice do you have for anyone who's new in Jiu-Jitsu or just anybody in their training, if they were like, hey, Chris, what advice do you have for me? I'm this random person you've never met. Like, what's your advice do you have?
Just do it.
Okay.
No, Nike, just do it.
Just do it. No.
Here's the thing. Like, I've had, ironic enough, so my fiance and I, shout out to my fiance Nicolette. She's been my rock throughout the past few years, and throughout my life she will be as well. But I had a conversation with this guy at this wedding in Chicago, and he was telling me how he wants to do jiu-jitsu, but he wants to get fit first. You had that conversation, right? Like, oh, yeah, I want to get fit before I go train, right? And to me, you're just putting a barrier in your way at best, or at worst, you're just making an excuse for yourself.
Or you're making it harder when you get there, because chances are the conditioning you're doing to your body might not be valuable to your training at that time. If it's just going to make you rigid and rely on that, right? I don't know. Everyone's different.
But the thing is, if you're just nervous because you look a certain way or you're not in the best of shape to start a new sport, listen. Everyone feels uncomfortable when they start something new. Yeah. Everyone feels a certain way when they go into something brand new where people may not look exactly like them physically or something like that, right? You just have to go in and do it and just see if you like it, because you're never gonna know if you're gonna like it unless you actually do something.
There's that. And then if you get into like what you talked about, and we have that here, we're not a competition school, but everybody knows Steve and Paul, and again, having an environment that's like uplifting and encouraging, respectful, like that speaks volumes.
Oh yeah, like the ongoing. It's actually funny you say this. The ongoing trope about if you go to like an LA Fitness or like an Edge is like everyone is super judgmental, but you'll see like so many jacked people wearing Vegeta socks or like have like a Naruto tattoo somewhere, and it's like this is where all the nerds really go, and it's very similar to, but it's very similar to jiu-jitsu though, because like. Jiu-jitsu, ultimately, if you actually think about it, is a thinking man's sport. You'll run into a lot of nerds. Like, for God's sakes, I have a Vegeta tattoo right here.
Dude, like,
I know for a fact
they're all like computer nerds like me. Like, Will's like a programmer. Like, I'm an IT. Like, come on, man. Like, that blew me away, actually. Yeah. That you mentioned that.
Even Nick Salas, he's like one of the biggest anime fans I know. Like, that man loves watching Naruto.
I love it.
So, it's like, you have a lot of people who are like nervous about, because they think of MMA when they think of jiu-jitsu, and they think that they're going to run into like Vitor Belfort TRT.
Yeah, like it's just beefy macho man.
Yeah, and then it doesn't help when you have like, TRT dads that come in trying to reclaim their high school football career, trying to do jiu-jitsu. But you have to remember, like, that's not everyone in jiu-jitsu, right?
Especially in the suburb where I train. It doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
And thank God it's just like some cool, normal dudes that are in here. There's some talent in this room.
God bless. Sure. God bless, because, like, if jiu-jitsu were just full of TRT dads that had a failed football high school career, like...
Yeah, I would have been broke.
This entire sport would be in a lot more trouble than it is right now.
Yeah, I would have started a new Aikido cult. I would have been dope. All right, so we're getting up on time. It was a pleasure. How do people find you? Is it Instagram?
Yeah, just find me on Instagram, automatico_BJJ. Okay. You can just find me there. If you want to do privates, just DM me too. I started doing those recently.
Nice.
And come train with us at Moving Art Jiu-Jitsu.
Awesome. All right, folks, you heard it. We had the man with the story and all the plan, Chris. And as always, please like and subscribe and tap in.
Dude, you killed it. I try.